we had the difficult task to take one or two of these ideas and try to really implement something that we can use in our day-to-day lives. And that's probably the best introduction or best background to the future ICT2 project. Here, where did the HDMI go? So, in 2016, there was the public call for new ideas in connection to the flagship proposals, and this was called Flag Era. It was thought to keep up some of the communities that have formed around the original flagship proposals. And we said, why not have a new project where we take up some of these ideas and make clear that what happened with the original Future ICT idea is not totally in our sense. So we started the new project called Future ICT2, and our main goal there was to develop a new system that we called Fin4Forum, the journey to a direct and smart distributed incentivization mechanism based on digital currencies. So Marcus, our postdoc, and I, we're going to present in the next 20-25 minutes what is this project about. So to come back to the challenges quickly, we have the global risk interconnection map from the WEF, and you see in the center of the risks we have failure of climate change mitigation and adaptation, we have profound social instability and large-scale involuntary migration, which could be probably seen as a consequence of the former two. So the common root of all these problems could consequently be a lack of sustainability. And here we see how many Earths do we currently consume based on our ecological footprint, and this ranges from 5.2 in Australia to 0.6 in India, but I can tell you India is catching up quickly, and Switzerland, we're at 3.1 at the moment, and the whole world at 1.7. You can try it out yourselves on the www.footprintcalculator.org. You will see it's almost impossible if you're living in this part of the world at the moment to have a footprint of less than 1 Earth yourselves. So we have a major problem. One problem is definitely that we have a misalignment of global goals and individual incentive structures. If there is anything like global goals, we could definitely say that is the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement. The Sustainable Development Goals, they define 17 different goals for humanity, and the Paris Agreement says we should stay below 2 degrees of global warming. But on an individual level or on an incentive level, we see that, for example, 90% of all wastewater generated is released into the environment untreated. And on an individual incentive level, we have often the choice between train or plane or car, and some of them are much more sustainable means of transport than others. But here in this example that we took from actual real world example, if you wanted to go from Lyon to Madrid on July 8th, the train costs around 150 to 200 euros, the plane 105 euros, and the car, if you calculate the tolls and all the petrol, 223 euros. So, and the time it takes for taking the plane is 2 hours, and for everything else between 10 and 20 hours. So the choice would be rather clear for most people that are rational, that you would take the plane, right? So what's wrong with that? There's a traditional option that most countries try to rely on, which is top-down regulation. And this is one of the central pillars of how to go about this problem. And I think it's definitely one pillar that is needed to implement change, but it's probably not the only one. because there is problems with this pillar. We see that often it has unintended side consequences for economy, but also for society, and then often the policies that are taken on, they're actually not suitable to go about the problem. So this is the Climate Action Tracker from 2017, and it looked at the intended national determined contribution and the current policy rating of the G20 countries when it comes to the Paris Agreement goals. And it is extremely easily seeable from this graph that there is only one country, which is India, that is currently 2 degrees compatible. And this is quite surprising for everybody that has ever been to India. If you look at the air quality and the traffic problems that there are in India as well. And this is the only country that is compatible. And then all the others, they rank from insufficient to critically insufficient in that kind of rating. So we have to say top-down regulation is probably not enough, and it's not suitable for the level of complexity that we're facing when trying to go about global problems. So we said, let's explore a new paradigm, which we call smart distributed incentivization. And this is a graph, but I'll rather show it first in form of a video that we've done for the project to make it clear to you what we mean with smart distributed incentivization.
Our values often seem to be detached from our daily choices. For example, biking to work is a choice that benefits a few communities. Your boss might be happy because you're healthier, and the company has lower costs for providing parking space. Your city has fewer problems with commuter traffic and improved air quality. And because you don't need to fill up your tank, you're helping to reduce the global consumption of fossil fuels. Or let's say you only buy clothing from socially sustainable sources, where employers pay their staffs a living wage and foster a healthy work environment. In reality, many people choose to drive to work, and many prefer to buy cheap clothes from employers who exploit their workforces. Local and global values do not easily translate into individual incentives. But every day, many people and communities do actually make vital contributions towards achieving common human goals in the realms of environmental sustainability, health and care work, social integration, education and beyond. It's just that our current economic system is so bad at valuing these social goods and services. Shouldn't it be easier to value these kinds of contributions? Imagine a new system, which we call Finance 4.0. in which interest groups and communities could define positive actions and reward people who carry them out. These rewards would take the form of a variety of digital currencies which would represent different shared values. Imagine if you could collect ecology coins and health coins for your morning bike rides, and sustainability coins for buying fair clothes. You could then use your coins to access rewards that the communities choose, such as a free bike service or discounts. In this way, we can build a decentralized system of incentives that empowers everyone to make everyday choices that benefit our world. Find out more in our other videos and visit us at www.futureict2.eu.
Well, that's a short video that we produced that is explaining the graph here. In other words, it's about communities that choose actions that people can take. Users can then carry out these actions, submit a certain kind of proof, and then will automatically be paid out the respective token. Like this, we can implement such a system in a completely decentralized way. So we don't need anybody in the middle that is taking your data, that is doing surveillance on you, or that is checking any of these things from a central point of view. Future ICT2, that's collaboration across borders. So the consortium is not only ETH, we have, again, partners in whole of Europe, coordinated by the National Research Council in Rome, Mario is our project coordinator. He's here in the room too, so you can also ask him if you have questions about the project in general. But to come back to our Fin4 system, you can imagine there's multitude of questions and things to solve if you want to implement this. It's far from being trivial. And so one is we have to work on definitions like tokens, transaction, consensus. What does that mean? So we did a distributed ledger technology taxonomy, which Mark and Marcus have recently published online. If you're interested, you can also go to Mark's class in the afternoon, where he is talking a little bit more about this. Then we had to look into behavioral economics. How can currencies, multiple dimensions, multiple levels increase system stability or give new incentives for the different behavior? This is something we also do in our research, Mark also with his PhD thesis, among others. Then there's a lot of questions about the crypto economic designs. What kind of functionalities of tokens do we need in the system? How do they interact with each other? And we had a series of workshops about this topic, among others, in Berlin. And we are about to implement this into our platform. One of the also important aspects is how to prove things. How do I prove that I did a certain action? This is also one of the main challenges of blockchain systems that interact with the real world. So we had a number of workshops around the proof mechanisms, and we came up with some ideas. I'll do like some experiment about it with you in the afternoon in my workshop. We will not be able to go through all aspects of that, but we're also currently putting together our lessons learned from these different workshops that we ran, and would like to have a short summary of that published very soon. Among others, we also have to look into governance and ID mechanism. We said it should be a totally distributed system, so the idea is that everybody that interacts with the Fin4 system is actually also one of the governors or the owners of that system, so everybody would be allowed to vote on how the system should be further developed. But there are many questions linked to that. How does that link to ID? And we don't want to fully rely or only rely on government-issued ID. We would like to have self-sovereign ID, and especially in the longer-term reputation to function as a sort of ID. Marcus is talking more about this also in his incentive design workshop in the afternoon. There's a lot that we had to do in terms of requirements of the pilot demonstrated platform that we're going to showcase to you right after our introduction here. We had to create some use cases to make this less abstract, and we're going to hear about what WWF and KISS is doing with our platform, and also Marcus is saying a few words about the Climate City Cup. Then what we tried to do over the last year especially, besides implementing these use cases, is to come up with a self-explanatory and self-guiding user interface, so that we can have different communities that would like to create their own tokens, so that they're able to use Fin4 and register their tokens without being guided by us, so that in the end we really have a totally distributed system where people can come, register their tokens, their actions that they would like people to take, and also the qualities of the token that people will get for their action. I will give the word to Marcus for the second part of the presentation.